Hi everyone, hope you're all okay if you're listening. Welcome to the Autism and Neurodiversity Coaching podcast, Neurodiverse Universe, with myself, Ben Holmes. Just a little introduction about our own company, in case you don't know about us, it's the first time you're hearing about us. So we offer coaching for neurodiverse individuals, we offer training for businesses, public speaking, we have an online subscription service as well, full of content, videos, etc. We also do a lot of other neurodiversity related stuff as well. Now you can visit our website, which sort of highlights what we do, which is www.autism&NeurodiversityCoaching.co.uk. We also have a partner company called Autistic Army, so check that out as well. Now today we have a guest with us, so it's Emily Elsworth. So welcome, Emily.
Hi.
So just about Emily, she's autistic with her own companies as well. I believe you're a qualified teacher, and you've worked in museums, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
So let's get into it then. So what I always like to do is ask a few quick fire questions to everyone, and then we'll sort of get into the main podcast itself. So when were you actually diagnosed as being autistic?
I was diagnosed in November 2020. So what's that? Just under 2 years now. It feels like a lot longer. So yeah, sort of in the middle of lockdown 2, started doing the actual assessments and things in lockdown 1, and then got the assessment confirmed in lockdown 2. They said they had enough evidence in March, but still made me wait till November.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been strange, it all happening in lockdown, I guess. I suppose it adds another dynamic to it, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not what I expected, because I'd done all my research into what the process was like and what they did, and then so my first assessment was on the 24th of March, so that first full day of lockdown. So I was like, I can't go out of my house, and now I've got to spend 3 hours on the phone, which I really hate doing. So yeah, great, thanks everyone. That was it just made it feel even more strange going through that process in that time.
Yeah, God, that date, yeah, that's interesting as well. Obviously, being autistic and doing phone calls is always good, isn't it, as well, I guess?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, so you're quite, I suppose it's, 2020, it's not that long ago, but as you've said, once you get diagnosed, I guess it's a lot happens in a short space of time, I would imagine. Probably with COVID as well, you've probably had more time to sort of think about it, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
No, it's, I think when you're late diagnosed, it always adds a different dynamic as well, compared to if you're your child and you sort of brought up with it, I guess. So what did getting the diagnosis mean to you? Did it make your life better in any way or worse?
I think it was better in that I now understood who I was and why I'd had all the struggles that I'd had for the previous 27 years of my life, and why, I could finally, rationalize the fact that whenever a mental health professional had said, oh, you just don't try hard enough and that's why you never feel any better. I'm like, no, I do try hard enough. It's you that's not being accessible. So that's probably not my main takeaway from getting a diagnosis, I should probably just say, but that was quite empowering. but yeah, that kind of, and like somebody once said to me, like, oh, you're not depressed, you're autistic. I'm like, I am sort of depressed, but I'm autistic as well. So I think it's that kind of understanding of, actually, it's okay that I have these routines that I have, and I have these things that I have to do, and I have, it's okay. And I think that's been positive, like definitely, like having that understanding. And if somebody goes, well, why are you doing that? I'm like, because my brain's wired differently to yours. And that's why I have to do that. So yes, that's been definitely positive. Yeah, as much as it was a shock, it was a positive shock.
Yeah, I understand that. And I suppose a lot of people don't understand, just going back to what you were saying a minute ago, a lot of people don't understand some of the differences between autism, depression and anxiety, whatever. And some people think you can only be one thing, you can't have all these other things as well. No, that's interesting as well. It's I always like to know how people felt when they got diagnosed. So obviously everyone has different experiences. Like for me, it was the best thing ever, but I know I've spoken to some people and it's made life worse for them. So it's always interesting. I think you have to respect both sides of it, I guess, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm like really positive about being autistic, but I fully understand that there are people out there who have a completely different experience to me. So like you say, understanding both sides of it, definitely. Yeah.
And did it sort of spoke about how you felt about it, did it sort of change your life? Just following on from that, did it change your life much, would you say?
I'm just going to give a really boring answer of yes, but that's not a full answer. So, yes, it did. I think, like, even sort of moving towards now what I do in terms of kind of changing that narrative of what it means to be autistic, I think I started doing that 3 days after my diagnosis, because why would you wait around? And just so I was, I'd worked in museums, I was working in a school at the time when I got a diagnosis, and left that and just was like, you know what, I'm going to focus on, these are the reasonable adjustments I need, this is kind of what I need, and just be a lot more vocal about it, and just be like, no, that's nonsense, I'm not listening to this. So yeah, just kind of, that's been a big change, that kind of going from working for other people to suddenly working for me. So yeah, it has been a big change. I think there's still a long way to go in terms of, like, some people it's taking a bit longer, but I think that's kind of a lot. What I hear a lot from other people is that some people adapt like really quickly and other people take a bit longer, but that's okay. We can cope with that. So yeah.
No, absolutely. Also everyone learns it, everyone takes things at different speeds and whatnot, don't they? I think how you've said, when you said about jumping sort of straight into it, that's sort of what I did as well. Well, I actually found out I was autistic before I got diagnosed, and it was more of a formality for me. So I'd done a lot of the research before that. But it's interesting how some of us sort of then jump straight into it, do all the research, just change a lot of aspects of your life, like working for yourself, etc. I guess what you were saying when you was diagnosed, would you say that it sort of gave you more, not authority, but like, because you know you're autistic and you've got that proof, you can then say, well, I'm autistic, so therefore I do need reasonable adjustments and I need X, Y, and Z, and I can say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like before, and I often say when it was just mental health, I am not downplaying mental health in any way, shape or form, but like when people told me there was nothing else going on, now that we know there's autism and potential dyspraxia, we know there are other things going on, but when it was just kind of along the lines of anxiety, I'd go, I need reasonable adjustments because of anxiety, and they'd go, no, you don't. Like that thing of everyone has to deal with traffic. Okay, that's not reasonable. So yeah, I think it has helped in that way, and that now I can go, do you know what, I am now actually covered under the Equality Act. So like, and I love quoting the Equality Act. Like, I won't do it on here, but like, I do love quoting the Equality Act. If you have to do this because this says this. So yeah, that's been a joy. I have to do it too frequently, but it's a joy.
No, feel free. Say what you want to hear. Say what you want. No, sorry, go on.
No, so I was just saying, yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. No, it's good to hear. And like I say, with the mental health side of it, I think obviously employers, a lot of people are different, but I find a lot of them are still, they don't know what to do with autism at all. They don't know what to do. Some are scared of it. So like you've said, once you said you're autistic, you might be like, oh, I need to do something. I don't know what I need to do, but I need to do something. And then others might just sort of dismiss that you are autistic, or they might treat you differently, good or bad. I mean, I don't know. I mean, some can then be patronizing about it because they don't know how to sort of deal with it, and they like treat you like a kid and things like that. And it's like, because they just haven't had the training, or they haven't got knowledge, or some are just not willing to listen as well, as what I found amongst businesses.
Yeah, and I think there's a bit of a fear as well with employers, and I'm sure you find this as well, that like they won't know what to do, but they won't ask the autistic person. And I'm like, hello, I know exactly what I need. Like, ask me. If I'm having a day where I'd rather not have a conversation, I'll write it down for you. Like, just ask me what it is I need. I can tell you it in as much or as little detail as you want. Like, it's not, but yeah, like you say, it's that people are scared, and it's, you know, we're everywhere, as I quite frequently say, like, don't be scared of us. Although saying we're everywhere makes it quite scary, actually. But that's, ignore that bit. But like, we're not something to be scared of. So yeah, it's just ask the question. It's simple and it works most of the time. Yeah,
no, exactly, like you've said, it's like you're stood there like with your hands up waving about, and they're like looking around you, say, oh, who can we ask about autism? How do we find out about it? And there's like, it's literally staring them right in the face or something.
yeah.
Or maybe not staring them because the eye contact thing, but maybe
yeah, looking off just slightly to the right hand side, maybe. But yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's there's a lot of work to be done, I believe.
Yeah.
So how did sort of family and friends, anyone in your life, I guess, how did they respond to your diagnosis, or once you told them, or how did that sort of play out?
I think in terms of like family and like close family friends, it was like relief of, oh, this is what's been going on with Emily for all these years. Like, and I think a few people like felt quite guilty because they were like, oh, looking back, it's so obvious now that, like, you had to eat in a certain way and you couldn't have this, and you didn't like when things changed, and it's like, don't feel guilty. Like, I didn't know. I had, as a qualified teacher, had done training on autism. I didn't notice it in myself. So, like, literally, don't feel guilty. Person who's never had any training. And I think my friends have been, so I kept it quite quiet for my friends. I think it was about 3 months after that I actually said something about it. And I genuinely think I said something about it because originally my Instagram account was private. I was like, I'll keep it, not private, anonymous. That's the word I'm going for. And me not being great with technology, accidentally uploaded a photo of myself. I was like, well, it's sort of obvious it's me now, isn't it? So I was like, okay, I'll tell people that this is what's, and actually they were really supportive. And like, they're quite understanding now with like social situations and like which restaurant we go to, or kind of, is it better to go to this cafe? Or, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes you go out with me and we do have to attempt 6 or 7 different cafes before we can go in, because there's just something not quite right. But most people have been quite like understanding of that, so it's good. So and there's like lots of conversations about it, and a lot of them kind of like follow me on social media. So they're like, oh, we noticed you did this, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot you follow me on there. So it's been, I can't think of any like friends or family like negative experiences. So yeah, it's been, like I say, everyone's still learning, but yeah, it's been good on the whole.
That's really good to hear, that you've got supportive people around you, because as you probably know, again, you can get a mix, some really supportive, some the opposite. So that's really good you've had that. No, it's not really good. And just with so when you got diagnosed, so you mentioned a few minutes ago about you being a teacher and then not sort of recognizing it, having done the course, etc. So so I don't know if you want to talk about that. I'm just interested, obviously.
Yeah.
And what was the link between that then and then getting the diagnosis? And
so in terms of, there isn't really like, it was more me questioning it. So it was the community mental health team that first mentioned me being autistic to me, like Christmas 2019. They spent an hour with me and went, has anyone ever mentioned autism? And I went, yes, loads of people, because I've worked in this school, and this school, and I've done this training. And I was like, but I'm not a boy under the age of 10. I'm not traditionally verbal. I quite frankly hate trains and computers. So like, I'm not autistic. And then they did like a mock screening assessment, and they're like, we are 99.9% sure that you are autistic. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's when I started doing my research. But yeah, I was just like, how have I done? And I'd done training 6 or 7 times. And I'd even, when I was at university, had to go to like, I know they call them different things in different places in the UK, but like specialist provision schools. We had to go and do a day placement in one of those, and again, I was told that autism is something to be scared of. In fact, the teaching assistant introduced herself by saying, hello, I'm whatever her name was. If I say run fast. And I went, I beg your pardon. I do what now? I don't run in the first place, let alone fast. So that's kind of the connection of it. I'd always been taught it was something really negative. It was something, it was challenging behavior, which I've just realized on a podcast now, just going to have seen that I've just done inverted commas, but that's what I did. So it's so strange that, and that's what's motivated me to do what I do now and speak so publicly, is I just think, I just didn't have a clue. And I just, like, before December 2019, like my narrative of what autism was so like narrow. And like, yes, I know there are some boys under the age of 10 who will grow up to be like autistic adults, and people do like trains, they like computers, some are not traditionally verbal, and it's just but that's one person. Like that's one. I'm yet to meet anyone that hits all 5 of that criteria, by the way, apart from case studies at university, who were fake people. So make of that what you all want. They probably weren't even real. But yeah, so that it was such a
No, that's interesting as well. I mean, the fact you've done all that training, as you've said, makes me think with the training, is it like literally what you've said, there's the stereotypes you've mentioned there, which is why then there's no way you could be autistic, obviously, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
I was even told in a training session sort of in 2020 that there was no way I'd get a diagnosis. And then like a month later, I had the piece of paper in my hand.
Why did they tell you that there was no way? Did they say why? Or?
Because, what was it? It was something around me being high functioning. So they were like, oh, you seem okay. Okay. I won't go into functioning labels, but like at the time I was like, what do you mean I'm high functioning? Like, no. Like, you're seeing one version. And I think it was an online one because of like COVID and everything. I was like, I'm sat on my sofa with a weighted blanket on me. You're literally seeing my shoulders and head. How can that make me look? But yeah, it was very much, oh, you'll just never get a diagnosis of that. I was like, oh, right, okay. But that was like within the first 5 minutes. So you can imagine how much I listened for the last like 2 hours of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm very much against the functional labels myself. Very much against it. But again, it's everyone's entitled to their opinion, etc. So, but I won't get into the functional labels side of it either. But yeah. No, I mean, again, I don't know what some of them expect. Like, obviously, they may have seen like non-verbal, so they might think, well, they can speak, so they can't be autistic. But then, if on a phone call or something, or a Zoom call or whatever, I don't know what they're expecting. I've no idea.
Yeah, and I'd literally at that point, I think all I said was, hello, my name's Emily, this is my role, and I'm going through the process of getting an autism diagnosis. And that, I think, is all I'd said up until that point. I was like, how, like that, I couldn't tell whether somebody was autistic or not based on, 3 sentences? Is that 3? Yeah, 3 sentences. That's, you've got to be confident in your autism radar, I suppose, if that's how quickly you can make a decision. But I mean, here I am. Obviously that information was wrong. Yeah.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
So what sort of support, if any, have you received since diagnosis, whether it be, well, anyone really, whether professionals or doctors, friends, family? I know you've said with friends that they were supportive in terms of accepting with the restaurants and what have you. But have you had any other sort of support at all since diagnosis?
So what's in terms of, I would say doctors wise, that's still an ongoing, very much ongoing work in progress of getting any form of support that they actually understand. I mean, I've even had a conversation with my doctor where they went, how do you know you're autistic? And this was like 6 months ago. And I was like, because you know that report that's on your system and that flag that really should have been there since November 2020, that's how I know. But they're like, oh yeah, we don't have any record. Of course you don't. Of course you don't. So GP is a massive no. I have recently started some like autism specific counselling that I've been on a waiting list for since I got diagnosed. I think I've had 3 or 4 sessions of that. So that's going well, just kind of working through some the stuff that's kind of happened pre-diagnosis really. But in terms of that's kind of like the only autism specific support I've actually received. I think everyone thinks I got a diagnosis and I suddenly got an occupational therapist and I got a speech and language therapist and I got all these different people. I'm like, that just didn't happen. They went, here's your piece of paper, off you go. And I know that happened. It's very, I don't know, it's like that postcode lottery thing, isn't it? It depends on where you live. There's somebody who lives like half an hour from me, and the difference in support you get offered when you get diagnosed is ridiculous. Like, it just shouldn't be that way. And when you're trying to go, no, I do need support, I just don't get it. And like, I don't think people understand that. I mean, obviously I've had like support for setting up the business and stuff, but again, not autism specific. And that's been very much going back to what I was saying before of, I can now say I'm autistic, I need reasonable adjustments, but it's been very much that on repeat for the last sort of 18 months, which is boring for me by this point with the same people. So it must be getting boring for them by this point as well. But yeah, I think unless I am missing something, or I had a couple of sessions of like post-diagnostic to like understand what it meant, but I don't know, because I was so accepting of it, I was a bit like, I don't know how much difference that actually made, if you know what I mean. Like, it wasn't the diagnosis that I wasn't accepting of, it was more like the injustice of pre-2020 that I wasn't very accepting of. I'm probably not very accepting of still, if I'm being totally honest, but that's what drives me to do what I do. So yeah.
So like with the one you just mentioned there, was it more like, oh, you are autistic? It's like, yeah, no, I am. Like, yeah, I know that, so I don't need you to tell me that. I just need the actual support I'm crying out for, and acceptance and what have you.
Yeah.
No, just on what you were saying about the postcode lottery thing, like, yeah, I found it. Yeah, you can literally go several miles down the road and they get more support or less support, and many of us sort of get diagnosed and that's it, right? You got diagnosed, see you later, get on with the rest of your life, and that's that, really.
Yeah, and I don't know about it. I think it's the same with the report that you get as well. Like, that tends to vary in how like good it is. Like, mine spends most of it saying Emily doesn't have a learning disability. I'm like, well, I could have told you that. Like, you didn't need to spend 4 pages essentially telling people that, did you? But yeah, so I think even then you're just like, well, that's not helpful, is it? It's really not helpful. Apparently it's helpful to someone, just not me. Yeah.
No, exactly. So what other, however you word it, whether you say conditions, disorders, things, whatever you want to call them as, what else do you have, or what else are you that you know of?
So I self-identify as dyspraxic, because again, well, they told me that at the autism assessment you probably are dyspraxic, but because you're over 18, unless you've got loads of money, you're not going to be able to fund a diagnosis. And I was like, all right, okay. I've done all the like online stuff and I'm pretty sure I am. And then obviously there's kind of like anxiety, depression, like gastrointestinal things. Currently kind of looking into whether there's like chronic pain conditions, there's skin conditions, basically everything links to autism, doesn't it? There's lots like going on. So when people go, you're fine, I'm like, no, I'm really not. You need to look at my medical history. And I do occasionally question ADHD, but again, when I've brought that up to people, they've gone, oh, but that's just your anxiety. And I'm like, I mean, your face says it all. It's really not, is it? And I'm like, ADHD is not just anxiety, but that's what they said with autism, which is why I'm like, oh, I can't go through this process again. Well, not for another 27 years, because I'd be 56 by that point. So, and I was told when I went for the autism diagnosis that once you get to 50 up here, like that they're not interested. You've made it this far, you must be okay.
Wow.
I've got another 21 years to get any form of diagnosis of anything, apparently, and then that's it. I'm past it. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of different conditions, but again, because I think of difficulties trying to actually get anywhere medically, there's a lot of unanswered diagnoses going on as well, which is great when you don't deal well with uncertainty in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, and like everything's looked at in isolation, isn't it? So whenever I'm like, are you sure this isn't linked to being autistic? They're like, oh, we don't really know. I'm like, no, you do, because you just type things into Google and it tells you quite clearly is linked. But no, it's all looked in isolation, which I realised was the most long-winded answer to what are your other diagnoses. That was more me having a rant, wasn't it, really?
No, honestly,
yeah.
it's fine. Not at all.
So yeah, there's lots of like mental health conditions, neurodivergent conditions, and like physical health things all kind of going on at once, which is really fun on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm completely on board with that. I mean, I'm dyspraxic myself. I have ADHD, anxiety, depression, as well as autism or being autistic. I like to say some other stuff you mentioned. So yeah, it's when you've got all that thrown into the mix, it can be quite wild when you've got all these different thoughts and issues or strengths and all these things just sort of mixed together. I mean, if you want to come back to some of the other conditions later on, we can do that as well. But yeah, no, it's interesting you mentioned ADHD as well. But yeah, I do this thing where I feel like I can spot it in others, but then I tell myself, don't say anything because you can't keep doing that. I'll tell people I think of ADHD and they're like, do you know what I mean? It's like, so when I first started speaking to you, it comes straight into me. I'd had that feeling again, but then I thought, no, don't say anything. But then you brought it up.
Bit of validation, that's good for me. Yeah, I'm the same with autism. Like I will pick it, like notice it in people, and I'm like, you can't just walk up to somebody in the street. Like I'll see kids on the bus, and I'm like, yeah, if you haven't already, they really need to go for like some sort of diagnostic assessment. But like, you can't say that to strangers on the bus, can you? That is a social construct that I have learned, that you can't just go up to strangers on a bus and say,
yeah.
But yeah, somebody said ADHD. Oh, it's just your anxiety. I'm like, I don't think it is. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, that makes me feel validated. Yeah.
Like I say, I don't
get
the word for anything. Do just, like I say, it's sort of it comes in. I don't want to say I spot it, but yeah, I've done it quite a few times, and I've kept my mouth shut the last few times somehow. I don't know how, but anyway.
It's hard, isn't it, when it's like screaming at you? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously there are a lot of similarities with autism, ADHD as well. So, but I think there are some distinct differences as well that I found being both. I've sort of found like they compete with each other, and like the autism for me is where I want sort of routines and I don't like change and stuff. Whereas the ADHD sort of wants to do the opposite, really. So I'm constantly conflicted between which one I want to do.
Which I find them making diary management really difficult, because I'm like, oh, I want routine, but yeah, let's do things all over the place so it looks really like busy. And you're like, no. So I'm now currently in a place of, I think I need somebody to manage my diary because I am making a right mess of this. So yeah, I shouldn't have really just said that, but oh well, just honesty.
No, I completely understand that. Understand. So just with, going back to autism, do you see, well, it's quite a, what's the word? I don't want to say a controversial question, but yeah, I'll just ask anyway. Do you see autism as a disability?
Yes, I think I do, in terms of, I know I get when people say that they don't like the label of disability and stuff, but I think one of the main reasons why I say yes, it is because if disability is covered under the Equality Act, so that's where that accessibility comes from. If you can get those adjustments and accommodations because you're covered under the Equality Act. But I also think there are days when I open my computer and I'll look at my emails and I can't remember how to write an email. I'm like, how is this not a disability? Like, I can write emails, like, no problem. They may occasionally have spelling and grammar issues. Not so much grammar issues we'll go with, but like, that doesn't make me feel, because I saw somebody the other day trying to change disability into being beautifully abled, and I get what people are trying to do, but for me, there are days when I do not feel beautifully abled. I feel like it is a disability because it's like that executive dysfunction is preventing me from doing something that is quite an easy job for me. Like, sending an email is not difficult, but on those days it is. So I think I say it's mainly for the Equality Act reason, but also because there are days when I just, like, if I could just turn autism off for like 30 minutes so I could just get something done that resembles being productive, that'd be amazing. But that doesn't happen on those days, and I just sort of have to accept it. So, but again, life's long-winded answer to yes, I do. I would say that autism is a disability, but I do, as I say, understand where other people are coming from. Yeah,
no problem with the answers. Don't worry about that. No, I think it's one of those. There's a big divide in terms of people thinking it is or it isn't, and I think it's about taking other people's opinions into consideration. And I think what you've said about the Equality Act is quite important in that sense, which has just made me think as well, actually, because I'm more in the camp of seeing it as not a disability, but it doesn't matter what my opinion is for this podcast because it's about you, but so that's made me think actually with the Equality Act, because obviously if it's not classed as a disability, does that mean legally it has to come out of that, the act changes and all that sort of legal stuff, which then means there's less protection and less support, etc., which then could cause a bunch of other problems, and we can end up going backwards in terms of support, etc. And so I think it's such a hard one to discuss, because not to discuss, but to actually do anything about.
because like you say, there are like really opposing sides to it, and like I know like we're having a conversation about it now in quite a like an understanding way, which is great, but I have seen it particularly on social media go from one person just saying one little thing that probably wasn't even saying outright autism is a disability, and the abuse that comes out of it, and you just think, we're supposed to support each other in this community. Could we like just go back to the nice supportive community that we're supposed to have? Like, let's not create divisions within the neurodivergent community, because that's probably going to cause more harm at the end of the day. So I'm always happy to like have the conversation. I just think I try not to do it on social media around that particular topic, just because I've seen, I've seen it, probably not seen it all, but I've seen some of the worst things, I think, coming from people on that topic.
No, definitely. Like I said, I think it's a tough one for people to talk about sometimes. I think, like I say, respect people's opinions and you can have informed discussion about it, then it should be okay. But it's where people start attacking and what have you. I guess some people can be very passionate and defensive about things, which then can boil over and go too far the other way. So a few quick questions. Well, maybe they're not quick questions, doesn't matter either way. Random questions is what I was going to say, actually. Let's throw some randomness in there just because, really. So what's your favorite color?
My favorite color is purple. You can't see any of it here, but it is purple. Yeah.
Well, and what, if any, what are your special interests or some of your special interests that you have?
So cats and like history, really into my histories, like museums and film as well. Yeah.
Just out of interest, what is any particular period in history you're interested in, or is it abroad?
So I really like the Tudors and kind of that kind of going into Elizabethan and sort of a bit further back into kind of like the Middle Ages. Like, yeah, as much as I'm aware that it's like, this is what, you know, it's a period of history where we just talk about what men did, like, which is, I used to work in museums and it used to be like, oh, I've just spent all day talking about what the men did in history. Great. Where's the equality? But yeah, that's kind of my kind of period of history. Yeah,
sounds good. And that, again, that's probably not for now, but that's another interesting thing about, just making me think actually about how women didn't exist to some degree in history. Yeah, that's another thing, I guess, another thing to think about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm aware there's like Anne Boleyn and Jane Seymour and Catherine of Aragon and Elizabeth I, but we do really focus in on Henry VIII, don't we, when we talk about Tudors? Yeah, they know he had 6 wives, but yeah. Yeah.
I won't ask you to name them, but you probably can, I'm sure, anyway.
I can. I won't do. No, nobody wants to listen to that.
So last one on that thing. If you could sort of meet any celebrity, or actually I'll extend that, any celebrity or historical famous person, who would it be and why?
Oh,
Not too hard. You can pick a few if you want to, if it's too hard.
I was gonna say, I think I might have to go with one historical and one celebrities. I think celebrity for me would probably be Daniel Radcliffe, because my special interest that has linked to film has been kind of Harry Potter, and I'm aware there's controversy around that. But for me, like, Daniel Radcliffe is openly dyspraxic, and I just think that's quite a good role model to have. So yeah, I would just love to chat to him about A, making those films, and B, kind of what it was like to be neurodivergent on those sets, because I just as somebody has tried to teach stage combat to, how that passed health and safety, I have no idea, because I wouldn't have given me a sword and gone, off you go, but people did. I used to work at the Royal Armouries, I should probably say, when I'm saying people gave me a sword and went, off you go. And then in terms of from history, I think I would rate, there's a lady who was local to around here called Flora Sands, and she was during the First or Second World War, she went across, First World War, she was in the military. She trained as a nurse, but actually ended up as a soldier. And I just think the idea of a woman on the front, and like, what must she have gone up against to be able to do that? And I just think she would be quite empowering to talk to. And she was actually involved in the Second World War as well. And to think that she didn't fight kind of like where we would expect in the First World War. She was over in kind of on the Eastern Front as opposed to the Western Front. But yeah, I did a lot of research on her in a previous job, and I just think she would have been like amazing to talk to, if like actually you defied those gender stereotypes. And I think that's because people used to say to me, oh, find a woman that did do this. I'm like, challenge accepted. So when I found her, I was like, amazing. So yeah, if anyone's interested in history, look up Flora Sands. She is amazing, or was amazing. But yeah.
No, I think they're really good answers, those actually. Obviously, it doesn't matter who you say, it's whatever you want to say. But I think, like I said, with Danny Ratcliffe, with the neurodiverse side of it, and then also that it's a special interest, combining those two together. Obviously, your passion in, obviously your passion in women, but you know what I mean, in terms of
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Like girl power, but you know what I mean, like whatever. Can't think of the right words, but you know what I mean with that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone else does. So I mean, just leading on to that, when I looked at what you do, I know you're very passionate about sort of neurodiversity in women, in terms of the fact that women can't be autistic, can't have ADHD, but obviously they are, and they do, and sort of bridging that gap in terms of just knowing that women can be neurodiverse. So is there anything you want to sort of talk about in relation to that?
Yeah, I just think, like you say, I'd always been told that it wasn't, you know, women couldn't be autistic. So I think when I go and, you know, I deliver training, or I do some consultancy, or I, you know, talk about my experiences, and I say I'm autistic, you can see a few people in the room being like, and when you start to talk about traits and things, like some, depending on how comfortable I feel in the experience, like I will drop the mask a little bit, or but I have, you know, I think it challenges people, and you can see people really trying to work out, but you know, she's autistic, but she's not like doing any of the things we'd expect her to do. Or I've had people say, oh, we couldn't tell there was anything wrong with you, or, you know, you seem okay. And I'm like, well, I am okay, and there's nothing wrong. Well, there is, but autism isn't what's wrong with me. So yeah, so going in and just going, do you know what, let's flip what it means to be autistic a little bit on its head, and actually, you know, it's not always what your nephew, you know, how your nephew presents. It's not how, you know, your cousin's best friend's son. I get like, it's always like this really distant relation. And like, I just think it's good to challenge those stereotypes. And I think because I am quite open and honest about it, when people are kind of asking me questions, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I do mask. And I think masking is something that I do talk about quite a lot, because I'm like, you can't tell. I mean, I'm saying you can't tell by looking by somebody, and I'm fully aware that earlier on, I'm like, on the bus, you can tell. In cases where people aren't masking it, it's quite easy to tell. But I would say that, yeah, it just really changes what people think being autistic is like. And I think they're like, but you can communicate with us. And I'm like, yeah, I can communicate with you, and I can I can like speak, and I can do this. And so yeah, and I think the fact that I'm like, right, these are my like adjustments I need when I speak. I don't know if it's the same for yourself, but like after training, I need that bit of space, especially if it's been in person. I need that space kind of like away from people. So I'm not a big fan of when people crowd around me when I'm finished. So I am very much like, you're gonna have to, you know, if you've got any further questions, either one at a time or by email.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've gone off on a tangent, but yeah, I think, yeah, it's just, yeah, talking, everything I do is from a really personal perspective, and I also do bring in other people's perspectives as well. But yeah, I think that really makes a difference, because like, oh, we've done autism. Like, I think a big thing that I get is people go, oh, you must be a person with autism. I'm like, no, Ooh. I am not a person with autism. I am and I'm aware that people do like person with autism, but I'm an autistic person, and like even that's like a conversation starter of, but why? So I think everything is I always go in with a plan, and I don't think I ever stick to, which again is that autism, I need the plan. But then I had to go off in a totally different direction. But always trying to keep that point about, it is going to present differently in different people, regardless, it could be gender or even cultural background can have kind of an impact as well. So I think, just making sure that people don't think that autism is a linear line, because I get that quite a lot, and it's not something that's specifically male. I hope that kind of answered the question. That totally went on my own little
No, it's fine.
journey.
No, it can go wherever it needs to go anyway. That's what I like. It doesn't have to be a set, question answer. It can just sort of flow anyway. No, what you said about the person with autism stuff, I'm very in agreement with you on that one as well. And the straight line thing. The amount of times people say with autism to me, and I sort of have to decide, I have to make a quick decision whether I say anything about it or don't, whether I offer my opinion or sort of leave it. And it has to be a very quick decision. And I think the thing that knows me about myself with that is generally people who probably need more education on it, I don't then say anything to, because I don't know them as well, or I then think, well, it's going to take half an hour explaining this, and then they still might disagree with me anyway. Not that it doesn't matter if they disagree with me, but they might then dismiss what I'm saying is a thing. And then I really want to go into a long conversation about this, and sometimes I think there's any point, but ultimately there is a point, because we need to be doing this. But then you have to pick and choose sometimes when you say, oh, she'll forever be having these long conversations where you might not get in anywhere anyway, because you could explain something to someone in the most logical way, and they still might just not listen to you anyway. So
absolutely. I think sometimes I used to get quite frustrated when I used to get feedback, and it used to say it was great to speak to somebody who is a person with autism, and I used to be like, oh no. But then I used to think, but then I'd read on of what they've learned and what they've put into their practice, and I'm like, actually, am I just focusing on one thing? And actually they have taken a lot from it, that maybe that's something that will come in the future. Like you say, it's about picking those moments, isn't it? And it's like, if they picked one thing, some people do change their terminology. I don't know. So as it depends, doesn't it? There's some people you just think, I don't think you're ever going to change. That's
no, absolutely, definitely. So just sort of following on from that, in terms of what you do work-wise, do you want to just explain about what you do professionally? Because I believe you got, is it 2 companies you have? Is that right?
So I own Emily Autism and Me, which is kind of the training consultancy and kind of mentoring and public speaking that I do, all from the perspective of being autistic myself. So that's kind of what I do the majority of the time. And then I'm also a director with Differing Minds, which is also kind of the founder of that is Jess Meredith, who, if you haven't already followed her on like social media, you should totally do that. Who is, she has ADHD, so it's kind of looking at neurodiversity within kind of the corporate world and kind of bigger things like that. so involved in a few of their projects. There are kind of a few coming out in the next couple of weeks, which I'm really excited to finally tell people about, because we've been working really hard on them. So that's kind of two different business people like, how do you manage two businesses? I'm like, I just enjoy it, but I think that may be the kind of wanting those different things all the time. So Emily, Autism and Me, and Differing Minds. Yeah.
That's good. So just with that, how did you find, do you refer to yourself as an entrepreneur or businesswoman, whatever you refer to yourself as? How did you find that sort of process?
Hard. I think in a more simple term, I found it hard. I think I still find it quite hard. So I went through the Prince's Trust enterprise program for under 30s, 18 to 30s year olds, and again, trying to work out what my own access needs were at that point, and being like, this is really quite difficult. And it was kind of very much a back and forth of, this isn't really working, and then kind of managed to get through the program, and then it was trying to find a mentor that I could work with, but kind of understood. And that took quite a few months. I think it took 6 months to work that out. But now I do have kind of a business mentor for another year, who has been really good and really kind of adaptive to things. And I think, yes, there are moments where I go, oh, which I'm sure you experienced yourself, kind of going, setting up your own business. I think people say it like it's really easy, and it's really not. You suddenly have to do all these jobs like diary management that nobody has ever taught you how to do before. But like I say, it's a work in progress. There are definitely other business support things that I've tried to access, even as recently as last week, that are miles away from being accessible. So I think it's which battles do you fight? Do I really want to be taking on business support people? Probably not. Do I need to be? Probably yes, but at the moment I'm like, no. I would say it's been a challenge, but we're getting there, definitely. I've made it past the first year, so that's a good start.
No, it's interesting. I went for the Prince's Trust previously as well, as an undiagnosed everything. I've not been diagnosed with anything, so I can remember doing all the business plans and going back and forth with that, and cash flow projections, etc. There's a lot that goes into it. Then once you get through all that, then you're starting for real then, and you've got all these extra things you never thought of before. It's just the diary management, you've got the whole accounts, accounting side of it, and just dealing with everyday life as an entrepreneur is I love it, but it's also very challenging and throws many different things along the way. So totally understand that. Is there anything, just want to move on, is there anything you want to talk about in relation to the last few points, or do you want me to move on?
Not that I can think of now. I think we've kind of gone through, like you say, it's challenging. I think being neurodivergent and self-employed or a business owner doesn't really get talked about that much. So I think I'd like to see that being raised more. And I have seen a few people on LinkedIn kind of starting to say, do you know what, it's actually not very easy. But I think and I would like people who are offering business support to not just go, you need better time management. look up what being autistic or ADHD or dyspraxic is like, and then try and tell me I need to be better at time management.
No, exactly.
Yeah, that's probably my last point on that.
So just in relation to sort of autism, or any of the conditions that you have really, what interests you most? And it might be the gender sort of side of it that you mentioned earlier. Is there anything else that sort of interests you in particular with autism, things you're wanting to achieve in relation to that, or talk about more, or wish people knew some more about?
Yeah, I think there's probably two. So it is the kind of gender side of it, I think, was what originally drew me to kind of setting up Emily Autism and Me. And I also think it's accessibility, particularly because I've worked in museums, and when you look at accessibility information, it's always about if it's wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I may do in the future, but at the moment I'm not a wheelchair user, but I still need to know the accessibility information. So it's realizing that hidden disabilities need, again, I'm using the phrase disability, but need that acknowledgement that we need to know about accessibility. And I think we are heading towards that, but again, it's very much aimed at parents of autistic children. I mean, there is quite a large museum in London where their accessibility information has parents of autistic children survival guide. Like, how insulting do you want to be in one guide? Like,
yeah,
if I gave that to my mum, she'd go, "You're 29, you read it." Like, and why do they need a survival guide? Like, anyway. So yeah, just accessibility, improving it in general, and realizing that it's not just about being wheelchair accessible, and that it's not difficult either. You don't have to knock down buildings and rebuild them to be accessible. I mean, in some cases maybe you do, but not that's not like the norm, to have to knock down buildings to make them accessible. It's more about like workplace cultures and policies and stuff.
Absolutely. No, it's good to hear as well. Obviously not good and good at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just in terms of, well, the other thing I was going to ask really is just like, are there any specific goals you have? I mean, you may have just answered all that there really. It's a similar sort of question, but are there any particular things you'd like to achieve in relation to just neurodiversity or mental health in general, other than what you said really?
Yeah, so other than kind of what I've already mentioned, I mean, I realize I'm quite overambitious, but the fact that there's, we're both doing similar things, but actually, and I know everyone's like, "Oh, you should never talk to the competition." I'm like, what a load of nonsense. And like, actually, that's good, because I've got my own capacity limits. You'll have your own capacity limits. So I think it's, where are you going, brain? So other than what I've kind of already mentioned, it's things like, I would really like in the media to see a more positive representation of people who are autistic or ADHD or dyspraxic, because I think it's currently very stereotypical and not necessarily positive. I know there are some positive ones out there, but not the ones that people immediately jump to. Like, we're not all Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. I do love Big Bang Theory, but I don't love it for that. So kind of that in the media, and I think improving access to services, and that, and especially if you're an adult, like it doesn't disappear the second we turn 18. Because I always say, I should have said earlier on, that the only thing that upset me when I got my autism diagnosis was they went, oh, we've got some young people support, but that's only up to the age of 25 and you're 27, so you're not eligible for that. And I was like, I'm old. I'm not upset I'm autistic. I'm old. Like, I need to hear that. So yeah, so some more kind of lifelong support, like, or just any support, to be quite frankly, quite frank. And not just for autism, but like dyspraxia shouldn't stop being diagnosed on the NHS after you turn 18. Just genuinely improving access to, and I think mental health services need to understand that their usual methods may not work for autistic people. And telling us that it's our fault if it doesn't work, genuine quote, it is not helpful and will just make us probably worse than we already were before. So but again, that's a lot to achieve, and I'm aware it probably will take a very, very long time, because I know I'm sure you've heard people who will say, oh, autism wasn't a thing when you were at school. I only left in 2011. Like, it was a thing when I was at school. My GCSE chemistry coursework was on whether the MMR vaccine causes autism. So autism was a thing when I was at school. I really wish I could remember what I put. I hope I put it doesn't. Otherwise, I'm going to be so ashamed of myself. But strangely, I don't keep coursework from 13 years ago. But yeah, lots to achieve. And I think just anything to improve quality of life for people who are neurodivergent is just going to be amazing. Yeah.
That's a good answer. A few points I want to pick up on that, actually. There was one I forgot to write down, so whether that comes back into mind, I don't know. We'll see. Just when you said about being over ambitious, I get told the same myself, and well, just my opinion on that, I don't think it's a bad thing in the slightest. I think it's about managing it is the biggest. Like for me personally, because I've got loads and loads of ambitions outside of neurodiversity, and also within neurodiversity itself. And I think the biggest thing is, well, come back to diary management and all that sort of stuff. It's figuring ways out how to navigate that side of it in order to then achieve the goals, in my opinion. Because I think I personally, I probably offend some people, but most people I come across under ambitious, if that's even a word. And it amazes me how many people are not ambitious. And some people sort of don't know how to take me sometimes when I say some of my ambitions. So all I would say with that is, my opinion, there's nothing wrong with being perceived or whatever as over ambitious. The other thing I'd say is, when you said about competition a minute ago, that's a very, very interesting. Keep saying the word interest. I need to flip that word around for something else. Anyway, I must have said it about a dozen times. If anyone's counting, you have to let me know. Just with that, what I found since being in the neurodiversity field, if you want to call it that way, work-wise, I found it's completely different to every other industry I've been in, and that pretty much everyone I've come across, like yourself, has been very supportive and wants to collaborate or work together or push each other along, sort of thing, rather than being the opposite what you see in other fields. And my personal opinion is, because we're neurodiverse selves, we tend to be more honest and tend to be more, I don't want to say nicer, because that'll give me I'll get some stick for that. But yeah, that's what I tend to find anyway. So I've connected with so many people like yourself who are doing coaching, training, or similar things, who are autistic, may have ADHD, dyspraxia, whatever, and supportive is the word I'm looking for as well. They tend to be very supportive of each other. I'd like to talk about that in more detail sometime as well, actually. Whereas any other industry I've been in, like I've been in many different industries: sports, sales, warehousing, office environments, loads of things as well. And a lot of it is very much cutthroat and sort of, just competitive in a bad way, and sort of trying to do each other over and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, no, it's interesting you bring that up as well, because I saw that word again. I think there's a lot in that in itself, and that we tend to be supportive. And I mean, there's going to be some people that are not like that, but I'd say they're in the minority in my experience, at least.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't see why, if we've got similar values and similar like ambitions, and we're coming from the same place, like why would you not be supportive? I've definitely found kind of other companies where I think, I'm not sure I agree with your ethos and where you're going, but that's okay as well, because the world would be boring if we all wanted exactly the same thing. I just hope that kind of, but like you say, why would you not be supportive? Like, Princess Trust couldn't understand me when I was like, oh, I'm like friends with people that do what I do. Like, what? Like I recommend them if I can't do it. It's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was bad. But yeah.
No, completely agree. And I think it's, as you've said, about values, etc. I think, because I can't speak for everyone, of course, in this field, but I think many of us have similar values but similar goals. Obviously, some may be slightly different. Generally, it's about making your diversity accepted and supported better in a very broad thing. But there's lots of things that go into that. But I think that's the general thing, and I think that's why most of us seem to be supportive, etc., because of that. Whereas if you look in other industries, whatever it is, they might be trying to sell a product and someone else is selling a product, and the similar things, but theirs is better than theirs. And you could say the same could apply here, but I think it is different because of what I've said. I do find that. But yeah. Right, we'll start wrapping up in a second. Couple things I want to quickly ask you, just because you mentioned Big Bang Theory. I was just wondering if you'd watched any other autism shows. Carrie, you know what I mean by that? And
I know what you mean.
So there's A Word, which I've watched. I don't know if you've seen that one. Okay, we won't talk about that. And
sorry.
no, it's fine. I'm just interested. Have you seen Atypical on Netflix? Have you watched that one?
I've not seen it because I don't know. I think I'm quite hesitant to watch things because I tend to see how other people react, and I'm like, Atypical for me had quite mixed reviews, so I'm a bit, like everyone tells me, oh, like you should watch it, it's great, and then they'll say why they think it's great, and I'm like, that's slightly offensive. That's why you think it, like it's so inspirational. I'm like, no. But yeah, it's to be honest, I'm quite bad at watching new programs. Like I just tend to watch the same thing on repeat, but Atypical is something that I would like to watch. If obviously you would recommend it, if it's one to avoid, I will avoid.
I think this is just my opinion, so I will stress that. I think it's a good TV show to watch. In terms of autism, there are many things that knock me, but I can separate the two. If you can't, and you're just going to look at the autism and think, God, that's wrong, why they do it, then I would say possibly not watch it. It depends on whether it triggers you in the sense of whether it just annoys you. Like there's some things I look at, I'm like, I roll my eyes, but I like the TV show, and I think it's a good TV show. But then I think then I have that confliction of, but they're depicting autism not in the best way in some senses. So I'm a bit like, should I then be watching this? Because then I'm a viewer, and then I'm thinking I've got that thing in my head to wrestle with. So yeah, I suppose it's, yeah, I mean, I'd say compared to some things I've seen about autism, it's not the worst, but it could be. Well, the main guy in it is male. He's, I think he's at school, just starting college or university, actually, whatever we call it at college in America. So he's like, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, maybe a bit older. So, and he's very blunt, as a lot of autistic people can be, but like in a more stereotypical male blunt way.
Right.
So that might sort of put you off. So yeah, I'm sort of 50-50 whether to recommend it. Again, it depends really, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I will,
But I mean,
it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's like, oh, I've given viewing figures to this program, whatever. I will say like a positive representation that I did see last Thursday. I don't know if you've ever watched the ambulance program that's on BBC One. So one of the paramedics on it was chatting to a patient in the back of the ambulance and just went, I'm autistic, and talked about being like diagnosed, talked about masking, and it was just really positive. So yeah, if that's still on like BBC iPlayer, I would highly recommend. I mean, I will also say it was quite a difficult episode to watch in terms of some of the content, so I will also add that in. But in terms of like his sections talking about being autistic, that was really positive. Yeah,
that's really good to hear as well. Because masking, I don't recall really seeing it on the TV. I know a lot of people talk about it on LinkedIn and stuff, but as well, people like us do, but I don't see it on the TV or anything. So no, that's good that it's at least there's some progress made in that sense. So is there anything else you'd like to add or say before we start wrapping it up?
No, I don't think so. I think that's kind of all on that one. Yeah.
Cool. Right. Well, it's been great having you on the podcast. Appreciate you being on. I'm interested, I'll say that word again, to see how you progress and what you do in the future. And yeah, been great having you. So for those listening, thanks for listening and joining today, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.